Cultural differences in international trade, a focus on Japan. Principles of Procurement, presented by Eddie Burkle on July 5th, 2026. Japan is one of the world's leading manufacturing and export economies and has earned an international reputation for producing high-quality products through innovation, precision, and continuous improvement. Companies around the world purchase automobiles, electronics, machinery, robotics, and industrial components from Japanese manufacturers. I selected Japan because its culture has significantly influenced modern procurement and supply chain management. Many purchasing practices used today, including lean manufacturing, just-in-time inventory management, and long-term supplier partnerships, were developed or refined by Japanese companies. Understanding Japanese business culture provides valuable insight into conducting successful international procurement transactions. Before conducting business in another country, procurement professionals should understand the cultural values that influence communication, negotiations, and decision making. In Japan, business relationships are built on respect, professionalism, trust, patience, and long-term commitment rather than simply completing a transaction. Japanese organizations place great importance on planning, teamwork, quality, and mutual respect. These values influence how suppliers negotiate contracts, solve problems, communicate with customers, and develop business partnerships. Understanding these cultural practices helps purchasing professionals avoid misunderstandings and build stronger supplier relationships. Japanese business culture emphasizes harmony, respect, and preserving positive relationships. Open disagreements or direct confrontation is often avoided because maintaining harmony within the group is considered very important. The concept of saving face also plays a significant role. Business professionals generally try to avoid embarrassing others publicly and communicate disagreements respectfully. Strong personal relationships and mutual trust often develop before major business decisions are finalized. For procurement professionals, this means negotiations often focus on developing trust and long-term cooperation rather than simply obtaining the lowest price. Building a positive relationship with suppliers can be just as important as negotiating favorable contract terms. Japanese organizations generally have defined organizational hierarchies, yet important business decisions are commonly reached through group consensus rather than by one individual acting alone. This reflects a culture that values collaboration and collective responsibility. Japan also demonstrates relatively high uncertainty avoidance. Businesses prefer careful planning, detailed analysis, and reducing risk before making significant procurement decisions. Buyers and suppliers often spend considerable time evaluating options before finalizing agreements. Understanding power distance, organizational structure, and uncertainty avoidance helps procurement professionals prepare realistic timelines and negotiate in ways that respect the decision-making process. Japanese business value punctuality, planning, and long-term thinking. Time is viewed as an important business resource, and meetings, deliveries, and production schedules are expected to be followed carefully. Unlike organizations that focus primarily on short-term financial gains, many Japanese companies invest in supplier relationships that may continue for decades. Trust develops gradually through consistent performance and dependable communication. For procurement professionals, recognizing this long-term perspective encourages stronger supply relationships and partnerships, improved collaboration, and greater supply chain stability. Several cultural differences between Japan and the United States directly influence procurement and supply chain management. Communication. Japan, indirect, respectful, and relationship focused. United States, more direct, open, and results oriented. Decision making. Japan, group consensus and careful planning. United States, individual authority and faster decision making. Business relationships. Japan, long-term partnership built on trust. United States, greater emphasis on efficiency, contracts, and transaction speed. Understanding these differences allows procurement professionals to adjust their communication, negotiation strategies when conducting international business. Researching a company's business culture before conducting procurement activities reduces risk and improves communication throughout the purchasing process. Understanding cultural expectation allows procurement professionals to negotiate more effectively, avoid unintentionally offending suppliers, establish stronger business relationships, and improve collaboration throughout the supply chain. Companies that invest time learning about cultural differences are more likely to develop reliable supplier partnerships, reduce misunderstandings, and create long-term business success in global markets. Japanese manufacturers have introduced many practices that are now recognized as global chain best practices. These include lean manufacturing, just-in-time inventory, Kaizen, continuous improvement, total quality management, supplier collaboration, and waste reduction. These management philosophies reflect Japanese cultural values of discipline, teamwork, quality, and continuous improvement. Procurement professionals benefit by developing suppliers that focus on long-term performance rather than short-term cost savings alone. Successful procurement involves much more than selecting the supplier offering the lowest price. Purchasing professionals must also consider communication styles, cultural expectations, decision-making processes, and relationship building. When working with Japanese suppliers, understanding concepts such as harmony, trust, consensus, decision-making, and long-term commitment can improve negotiations and strengthen business partnerships. These cultural considerations help create more dependable supply chains while reducing misunderstandings that can delay production or damage supplier relationships. This research demonstrated that successful international procurement requires understanding both business practices and cultural differences. Japan's emphasis on respect, planning, teamwork, quality, and long-term relationships has shaped many of the procurement and supply chain strategies used throughout the world today. I also learned that purchasing professionals who invest time researching another country's culture are better prepared to communicate effectively, negotiate successfully, and develop stronger supplier partnerships. As global supply chains continue to expand, cultural awareness will become an increasingly valuable skill for procurement professionals.